Bismillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. My dear brothers and sisters, every single time we read the Quran, we recite the Quran, we both start with A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and then, except for one, who can tell me? Surah Tawbah, exactly. So today we just started Surah Tawbah, and we didn't recite the Basmallah. Does anyone know the reason for this? Yes. Okay. Okay, yes, this is. Okay, good, very good. So Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah, he says, everyone should recite Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in the beginning of every surah, except for Surah Bara'ah. Because the majority of scholars said that it is a verse, whether it is written in the Mus'haf, it was written in all the beginnings of the surahs except Surah Tawbah. And this was omitted by the companions themselves. So whenever the Quran was compiled, for example, a revelation came down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet ﷺ would order his scribes to write it down. And even the way they wrote it down, it was in an order. That's how we get the order of the Quran today. It's also preserved. It's not that the Sahaba came after and then they chose that this Fatiha will come, then Baqarah, then this. It's not like that. But the order itself was also given by Jibreel alayhi salam to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And this itself, when it came to Surah Anfal and Surah Tawbah, the Prophet ﷺ did not tell them about the Basmallah at that point. So this is the actual majority scholarly opinion on why the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is not between Surah Anfal and Surah Tawbah, because the companions, they differed whether Surah Anfal is a part of Surah Tawbah or Surah Tawbah is a part of Surah Anfal. So they left it as it is, and this is how it will stay. So what's important to note here, the Sahaba, they would take care of the preservation of the Quran unlike any other thing. Because they would be so fearful. There's a hadith that says, whoever lies in the name of the Prophet ﷺ, for him is guaranteed hell. Guaranteed hellfire for that person. So they'd be very careful, and that's how up to date we go to any of the Mus'haf, they're all the exact same. Just because of this beautiful thing of the Sahaba who sacrificed for us for this time right now as we're speaking. What does Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim actually mean? It means in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the especially merciful. So Bismillah is self-explanatory. We start with the name of Allah. What happens with this? The Prophet ﷺ, whenever he would do a talk, he'd start with Bismillah. Whenever he would write a letter, he would do Bismillah. The scholars after that, they came every time they start the letter, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, they start, and then they start their books. You'll see it in any book. You open Imam Bukhari's book, any book, the first thing they'll say is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, so that's the first thing. They want the blessing of Allah, the barakah of Allah. They want the intention clearly. You're doing it for Allah. Even when you read the Quran, you open it because you don't want others to hear you. You don't want it to be like, oh, look how much Quran I read. You're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. What's the difference? They both sound the same. Most merciful, especially merciful. Anyone know the difference? Yes, exactly. So Rahman is something that stops. While Ar-Rahim is something that continues. What does this mean? It means that the mercy Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is given to everyone. Whether it's a believer, disbeliever, munafiq, everyone has a little bit of mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, they're able to get food, they have drink, they have all of this. This is from the mercy of Allah. But Rahim, it continues after the Day of Judgment. And who is that only for? None other than the believers. So this is the difference. So teach this to your children, teach this to everyone you know. What's the difference between Rahman, Rahim? Both mean the most merciful, especially merciful. But Rahman is not for only the believers. Rahim is only specifically for the believers. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to implement from this and allow us to recite the Quran while saying the Bismillah. Ameen. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم.